Hello, I'm DJ HH, and this is the next installment of creating happy hardcore for beginners. This is the one that's the be all and end all for me. This is creating the actual melody, the actual tune. This is like the heart of the tune. I'm upstairs in my little studio. I've got my MIDI keyboard, and I'm going to use a few plugins to create the sound and the feel that I want. I'm going to be using the Korg M1 plugin, the Superwave P8 plugin, which is free, and the guys at Rewired Records have very kindly given me a copy of ROM 3 that I'm going to have a go with that as well. All of these are either free or you can get them on a free trial. Even if you have to pay for them, it's literally less than £100 for most of them. So all I'm going to do is start making some music and see where it goes. Now, because I've had to come upstairs, the version of Ableton that I downloaded to start everything off was Ableton Live 12, but I actually work with 10. That's the paid version I've got, and it's not backwards compatible. So I'm going to start again with this and then see if I can integrate both the start and the main bit of what we've done and start to put it together afterwards. But that will be for another episode. I'm going to start cracking on now with actually making some what I would call just nice happy hardcore music and see where we go. You could start with a vocal, you could start with the piano, the synth. Today I'm going to go with I'm going to try and just go with some synth and see what happens. So let's just crack on and see where we get. Right, okay. At the moment I've got the P8 loaded up and that's sounding quite nice. So we could start with that if we wanted to. So many options, but whether you're drawing it in on the MIDI roll as we've done before, or whether we are playing it on here using the chords that you can download in the sample pack. It's just a case of going with what sounds right to you. Go with, it depends on the feel. If you want to do something really dark, it might be like. So. If you go, if this chord change from is kind of a little bit moody. That's a little bit more uplifting, so you can go for, or you can go. Two totally different feels and totally different tunes. Just go with what sounds right, and you might want to make one or the other. It's not that one's better than the other. Just go with what you feel on any particular day. Okay, so I'm going to just play around with some different sounds and see what I like. Let's go into silence and see what's in there. We've got loads of packs that we can load. Let's load. Look at all these banks I've got millions in here. Let's just pick a random one. Okay, so this is a house one, I think. Got the arpeggio and let's take that off. What we got on here? God, this is probably a rubbish one. Let's get organ. Yeah, rubbish pack. Let's choose a different one. Load bank. This has got an arpeggio, so if we click that, it'll go. So I'm using the mod wheel on there. We want want a lead. Let's go with the lead. So that could be a UK hardcore, or it could be like a 98 happy hardcore. Just depends on what you're going to go with it. If we put the arpeggio on, it goes. And we can change it by clicking on here and then, how do we do this? Will that do it? Yeah, there we go. Ooh! Oh, it's changed it. I think it's changed the thing. It's gone to FX. It's got lead. Right, okay. So all I'm going to do now is flick through and see if I can find some nice sounds. Screechy. And this is, we're not even messing around with. We can turn all this on and off and change it. Okay, so this for me is things that I would bring in later. What I like to start with is the chords and a little bit of synth or some piano, and that's what I'm going to go with. So I'm going to go on to, let's have a try with Rewired Records. Let's have a try with the ROM 3. We need strings. Let's go with this one. Quite like that, number 7. 7 and 8 on the strings on ROM 3 are quite nice. We'll maybe come back to that. I'm going to go back to my trusty P8. Got the high pass filter on this one. to thin. Nah. Violin. You know what? I'm going to pick that one. So, I really like this one. What you can do then is, once you've chosen that, you can then mess about with it and see what sounds good. So, I'm going to create a basic chord. Something that sounds nice. Go. I love that. I have no idea what chord that is, but I just know I like the sound of it. When they're telling people about learning to mix, just use your bloody ears. Oh, what song's that? And you can tell which notes work well because within this chord, because some will sound rubbish like that. So that's what I'm going to go with. I'm going to take this down to 134 BPM. I am going to put on, that's just arbitrary, it could have been 130, could have been 140. I'm going to put the metronome on so we can hear, and I'm going to set this to a 32 bar, and we're going to record a little bit of something. So we could go down like that, but let's. Okay, so I've got a bit of an idea of that. I don't even need to really play it. What we can do here is just go and work with what we've recorded here and use the piano roll. And get rid of that. I'm just going to turn it down a little bit. And let's take the loop back to there. And here we are. This is what we've just recorded. So we're going to go, just have a listen. You can see there it's not right at the beginning, so you could quantize it. I'm just going to drag it along. I am going to make that to there, that one to there, that one to there, and what we want is that to carry on to there, and then that one is swapped to that one. Is that right? Take that one right along to there with that. Bring them back to there because I want it to change there. You can do whatever you want. You could extend that. You could have that going like for as many bars as you want. It's up to you. It's your tune. Can't get my line up right. I do fancy that continuing, but I'm not actually. I'm gonna change it. I'm gonna change the chord. Oh God, I've done it wrong there. So that one goes down. I think I've done it again. Have I done it again? Do we go to there? Is that right? Yeah. Messed that up. It should be there, I think. So that carries on. That carries on. So the bottom two notes carry on. It's the top note that changes. It sounds like this. And let's do a 4-bar loop. Let's consolidate there. So that's our 4-bar loop, and it goes all the way to the end like this. Yeah, that's right. So we've got a 4-bar loop, consolidate it, make it exactly 4 bars, and then what we can do is press loop and do it as much as we want. I don't like the fact that it stops and then carries on. It goes, it cuts out. So really we want that to continue all the way along, but we can deal with that in a minute. Yeah, that is consolidated. I'm going to take this back up to 170. Call it 169, doesn't matter for now. Turn the loop on. Now, if you don't want that little clippy thing where it's stopping and starting, what we can do is they can stop and start, and we can just make that one continuous thing all the way along. What I would then go is back to what we were doing earlier and listening to some different sounds. It could be, I would always go with piano here, but we can do different things. We've got presets here, so let's just use some of our presets. Here we go. Hang on. Do we like that sound? What about piano? So bearing in mind here, I'm going by, I'm not a piano player, so I'm going by what sounds right. Quite like that. So let's go for something like that. So what I'm going to do is hit record. So that's all triggered on there. Highlight that to trigger it, and I'm just going to record some basic stuff. Oh, do you know what? I don't want to record it at that BPM because it's a little bit harder. Sometimes it's better to record it at the actual BPM. Sometimes it's better to do it slower. Put the metronome on. So we've got the basic notes drawn in there. We split this. We get rid of that at the beginning. And let's just have a quick listen. It'll be all over the place, but we can sort it. duplicate. So we've got a basic little happy hardcore melody, really basic, but what we can do is make that a little bit more elaborate. So we go. So what I was doing there is just changing the volume on different notes to give it a little bit more predominance on different notes, and you can do what you want. There are certain tricks that you can apply, but I just go by what I think sounds good. So we've got a really nice basic happy hardcore intro there. What I'm going to do is set that to loop and loop it there, and see if we can put something else, make it a little bit more happy, a little bit more elaborate. Okay. Duplicate that. I'm going to get rid of that. I'm going to arm that track there. So I've armed that track, duplicated it, so we've got the same piano instance, but I'm going to record something else into it. So at this point, I know there's something I want to change there, and I could just mess around with the piano roll, or I could mess around on the MIDI keyboard. It doesn't really matter what you do, as long as you get the right end result. I tend to do a bit of both. the CPU's crackling a little bit, so we'll just have to forgive that. What we need now is a little bit of bass, and I am going to arm that track. I am going to go with this bass. These are all basses that I've got set in my presets, but all you need to do is just go through the plugins that you've got and come up with something that you like. What you can do here is you can copy and paste this, because they're the same notes, and just take the root note of each one and mess around with it. So let's just have a quick look. That's the bass, way too high. So what we do is we take that and shift it down, and again. Lower. Now what we can do is we can have that and that if we want. We can do both. We can do it in the same MIDI roll here, or we can just duplicate it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to duplicate it. I'm going to make that different colour, and I'm going to make that low. I'm going to make this one a little bit higher. God, it's crackling like mad. I can only apologise. Okay. Let's bring that in on, where are we with this? So that's there. Consolidate. We're going to bring that in there. Let's bring that in there just to see what it sounds like. So I think because we've got the recording of this going at the same time, it is a little bit crackly. I think the CPU is struggling to handle it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to stop this, reboot it, and then come back to it. Hopefully it will be not as crackly. So what happened was, when I came back to this, I was tired that night, so I left it and I thought I'll come back to it. When I did eventually come back to it, I couldn't find the project. I thought initially that I hadn't saved it, but you can see there right at the end that I saved it. But since then I have had a bit of a sort out with my files, and I'm normally quite good, but for whatever reason I've lost the file. So I'm really sorry. That's where we got to with it. You can kind of hear where we got to, or you can hear where we got to. Obviously it's crackly, but that's not the point. The point is how I go about creating a melody. I plonk around on the MIDI keyboard, adjust it in the piano roll. If you don't want to use a MIDI keyboard, some people prefer just to draw it in. I like actually sort of hearing the notes. I can hear what's right or wrong, and I plonk about and mess about. And sometimes I use the chord sheets that are in the sample pack that you can get from my website. So lesson here is, one, save your projects, which I did, but then don't lose them. I've actually done another video about saving your projects. That's you can find that in the playlists. So what I might try and do is recreate that at some point and come back to it. So hope you got enough out of that to. So I hope you got enough out of what we managed to get through there. Sound selection, picking the sounds that you like, creating a melody using MIDI keyboard and the piano roll, and basically doing what works for you. For me, I just like to, like the old DJing saying, use your ears, see what sounds nice. What sounds nice to you might be different to what sounds nice to me. Different styles, etc. I might try and recreate that at some point if I can. It's fairly simple, especially when you've done it once. You just go, okay, it's that, and then just draw it back in, and we'll see if we can do that. So this is the lesson melody. We might do a part 2 if I can recreate it, and I hope you found a lot of that useful.